What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Full Throttle Auto. My name is Harris, and today, yes, finally, it's in the title. We're doing the big brake kit for the 9th Gen Honda Accord. Let's get into it. Now let's talk about the kit real quick. So this is a Brembo kit. It is genuine Brembo. However, where I got it from is going to be linked in the description, but it is a Hyundai/Kia part. So it is off of those cars, but I don't care because this is a fully built kit that requires no brackets. It's direct bolt-on to the 9th Gen Accord. This particular here is a 4-piston caliper, and it is custom painted by the person that is selling it. So you get custom painted, whatever you want, you pick the color. And also as well, you can choose to say Brembos or Accord, or I could have done Full Throttle Auto, but I kind of dropped the ball on that one. But I'm okay with the Accord. You can also choose the lettering if you want white, if you want black, whatever you want to choose with, but I went with the black Accord. I thought that was gonna look really good. Now, before I started this video, I had to make sure that this was truly a brake kit, and it is. These things right here are 12.6. I'm gonna go with 12.6 in size compared to the Honda Accord, which LX is 11.1, and if you have anything better than LX is 11.6. So these are still bigger than even the biggest you can get on the Accord, and I'm super stoked about that. Now, because those aren't actual rotors that go on a Honda, you do have centric rings to basically center that good on the hub itself. So you are going to have to use these to make sure the rotors are sitting on there flush and there's not any kind of noise when you're using it. But they are included in the kit. Now, as for pads, there are a few options on the website. I contacted the seller directly personally because I wanted a specific set of pads. So these are the HTC. Let me go back a little bit. These are Hawks brake pads, and they are the HTC 30s, I believe, or is it HCT 30? It's one of those, but it's their performance brake pad. It's better than the ones I had last year that I was doing track day stuff on, so I didn't want to try those out this time around. And of course, I will be going back to grid life, so I wanted to make sure I had better stopping force. And they're already installed on the calipers with the pins and everything on there, so you don't even have to worry about that. Just take off your old kit, put on the new one, and you're good to go. Now, you can also order new brake fluid and lines. Apparently, my lines are not in the packaging, but I did order them, so I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. I'll have to contact the seller, but you can also go with the AMS oil high performance .4. Yes, .4 brake fluid. And I do recommend it. Now, these cars can run .3 or .4, as you can see on the cap for the actual oil or brake fluid, but I'm doing .4 because I beat the crap out of my brakes and I wanted to withstand as much as it can possibly with my driving. All right, now that that's all covered, we're gonna go ahead and get into installing. But before we do, actually, I said that was all covered, but I do wanna mention one more thing. So the bleeders are customized. These particular bleeders are an option. It's for self-maintenance, so that way you don't have to rely on somebody else pushing the brake or anything like that. They are supposed to work with, in the sense of, they don't take air back in when you release the pedal if you're doing it on your own. So that is also something else. Now, of course, this is a custom kit. There are no instructions. So something like this, either you're gonna do it yourself, and if you don't trust yourself, please involve a professional. I am not a professional. I am gonna show you how I do it, and I'm gonna give you all the steps that I do, but I can't say for sure this is all gonna be correct, so don't take me at my word. If you don't trust yourself, you don't trust me, go to a professional. Now, let's go and install these. Just like any job, you're gonna go ahead and jack up the car, properly put it on jack stands, make sure it's safe, and of course, take off the wheel and get to the brakes. Then I removed the caliper from the bracket, and then I removed the bracket from the hub. I left the caliper connected to the brake line so that way the fluid doesn't just leak everywhere. Once that was done, I then removed the rotor by removing the screw that holds it on flush to the hub. I then cleaned up the hub as good as I can to make sure that the new rotor sits flat as possible. Once that was done, I did have to actually slightly modify the dust shield about 1 inch on both ends on where the screws connect the new caliper to the actual hub. The reason for this is clearance for the actual caliper with the dust shield. I simply just bent the inch with pliers and I kept bending them back and forth until it snapped off. You can of course choose to cut it if you have a cutting wheel or a sawzall or anything like that. Once that was done, I put on the new rotor and I held it on there with a lug nut so that way it's set flush. Of course, utilizing the hub-centric ring with the rotor. After that was done, I attached the new calipers to the hub with the new provided bolts that came with the kit. When putting on the calipers, make sure that you're putting the right one on each side. The best way to know that is that the bleed valves are gonna sit on top. After that, I removed the old brake caliper from the brake lines and connected the brake line to the new caliper. Once that is done on both sides, you wanna bleed the brakes and put on your wheels and you're good to go. But unfortunately for me, the wheel did not fit.
I gotta say, I love the brakes. I'm super happy with them. They perform exactly how I expected it to be, better than a single piston caliper, which is what we get on the Honda Accords. Now, yes, my wheels didn't fit. Now, here's a little background on the wheels. If you haven't watched the wheels video, they are 18 by 8.5 with a 35 offset. When you order these brakes, you do have the option to do a 20mm spacer for stock 18-inch wheels, which stock 18-inch wheels are 18 by 8 at 55 offset. So I thought I wasn't going to need spacers due to the fact that I was 20mm on the offset smaller, which would have made the wheel be exactly how I needed to be to clear big brakes, and then also as well another 1/2 inch to the actual width of the wheel. So I figured with all this I was going to be good and be able to put the wheels on without needing spacers. Unfortunately, I was wrong, so I picked up some spacers from Amazon. I'll link them down below. They're okay. I mean, listen, supposedly they're like, what is it, forged aluminum or whatever, and The only problem, the reason I say they're okay, is like they function perfectly fine, but the actual lug nuts you get, put these against your hub so you can have the wheel, when you tighten it up here in this hole, the lug nut actually doesn't have enough room to go in, just the way the lug nut is made. So it's not ideal for this spacer, so I just got different lug nuts that actually fit inside here way better. So that was the only problem with that, but I did ultimately end up having to use this. Now I got a 15mm spacer and that worked fine. So for an 18 by 8.5 with a 35 offset with a 15mm spacer, you're good to go. Your wheel might be better designed and you might not even need a spacer with that kind of wheel setup. I will in the future go to an 18 by 9 wheel, possibly with like a 26 offset. I am looking at some things, but that won't be for a little while. Now, I did take the car to the racetrack. I went to Blackhawk Farms again. We did a track day. We did the track day picnic with Grid Life, and I got the chance to actually test out the brakes. And overall, huge difference. I mean, you guys will see if you guys stay tuned to the channel. The next videos are going to be the track day, and you'll see how much better the car is. Now, only problem with the brakes is the pads that I ordered. I thought I bought an aggressive pad. I went with a DTC30, and unfortunately, it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. I'm going to say it's probably as good as the HPS Pluses that I had on the single piston stock calipers, and it's really not worth the noise or the dust that it builds up to get those. If you want a track pad, go with the Hawk DTC 60s minimum. You can of course do the 70s and 80s, and those are going to be way better to push around 3,200 pounds on a racetrack like I did. So if you're going to go with pads for the street, I would recommend Hawk Ceramics. If you are looking to do a very aggressive like I am on the track, you go with the DTC 60s minimum, if not the 70s and the 80s. Unfortunately, the 30s just aren't that good. And the rotors are, I don't know if I mentioned it, but they're R1 concept rotors, and they're doing great. Have no issues. I thought they were warped, but it's just the pads. I just destroyed them on the track, so it's just pads needed to be changed again. But no, the actual rotors are doing really good. I'm very, very happy with them, so I have no complaints there. Now, the only problem with this kit, and here it is. This is where we get to, right? Everything's included. Everything's great. Everything functions. Well, actually, there's two problems. One problem is, of course, because it is a custom-made kit, you're using custom components, in this sense, rotors. The rotors are not for a Honda. The rotors are for a Nissan Rogue, to be a little bit more specific, 2015 with third row seating. Now, the problem with that is, who knows how long companies are going to make a rotor for that car? And that being said, then you're kind of limited to what you can get for rotors as well, because that's a very specific car. Now, the Acura RL Brembos, that, yes, you do have to use a bracket to put the Brembos on, but that, from what I understand, uses the 350Z Brembo Edition rotors, which is going to be still in manufacturing for quite some time. Not the 350Z, but the rotors for that car. Now, of course, this is just a minor gripe because there's always custom brakes. If down the line they stop making that rotor, you can always pick up an actual Brembo kit from Brembo, where you do, of course, all kits, all big brake kits use brackets, so you will be utilizing bracket, won't be direct bolt-on, but you can always go down that line if you want later down. Why didn't I do that now? Because this was $1,100 versus minimum of $3,000. So I wanted big brakes, but I didn't necessarily want to spend the money, which then obviously can't really bitch that much, can you? And the only other gripe I have with the actual brake kit is the pads don't fully sit on the rotor. Yeah. So the pads actually sit more than there is space on the rotor. So the top is perfectly fine, but it sits on the bottom further away than the actual face of the rotor. Due to that, when you're wearing down the brake pad, there is going to be a lip on that pad. Now, I don't know if that's really going to affect anything. I don't even know if it's really going to mess with the rotor at all. The only thing I can think of is if you wear it down, that lip is going to start getting closer to the hub or to the hub of the rotor or the head of the rotor, and that might cause an issue. I don't know, I'm not sure, I haven't gotten to that part. I do see the lip now because I destroyed the pads on the track, but that is another thing to consider. Now, would I recommend this kit? Yeah, I mean, I'm very happy with it. I have nothing against it, and I'm gonna keep it for a very long time. Later down the road, I might do something a little bit more custom from like Brembo. Even R1 Concepts apparently does custom calipers and two-piece rotors and stuff like that. I know that's a little extreme for a Honda Accord, but hey, I like my Honda Accord, so I like to modify cars. We're gonna go with that. Now that's really it. I like it, I do recommend it. Would I go with this if I knew everything I know now versus the RL kit? I'd probably do the RL kit. That's just me. Oh, and as for the braking force, this is the best way I can put it. About half the pedal pressure is required on these brakes to get equivalent to what you got on stock full brake, full pedal. So, very good brakes. It's significantly better performance. But that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this helped. And stay tuned because once again, track day videos are coming out. We're gonna do the vlog and then of course just the driving footage itself. And on top of that, I'm not gonna hold it from you guys. I got some coilovers. So we're gonna see that soon as well. I'll see you in the next one.